Chapter 10 What is the greatest bondage and restraint in the world? Once upon a time, a large group of criminals were ordered to be arrested by the Persian king of Gyasaro. Some of them were tied up with ropes, some had shackles on their feet, and some were covered in chains. They were taken to prison by officials. At that time, many monks put on their robes before noon and went to Shiwei city for alms. They saw the arrested criminals on the streets being escorted by officials. After finishing their meal from begging for food, they went to Buddha's residence and paid homage to him. One elder among them said to Buddha, "World-honored one, when we went out for alms today, we saw a large group of people being arrested by officials on the streets of Shiwei city. Some were tied up with ropes, some had shackles on their feet, and some were covered in chains all over their bodies. We could see that they felt helpless and painful." At this point, Buddha already knew about King Persian's order to arrest criminals. He said to the monks who came seeking his teachings, "These ropes that bind people up, these shackles around people's feet, these chains that lock people's entire bodies, as well as other restraints such as handcuffs or nets used for restraining or confining one's body, whether made of iron or wood or rope or reed, none are truly firm nor tightly bound compared with wealth like property money along with wives' children, which are actually what most firmly binds restrains worldly beings. Wise sages have said, wealth like property money along with wives' children are what most firmly binds restrains worldly beings. These bonds may not physically tie down one's body, but they can make worldly beings crave it so much so that they become addicted, leading themselves to fall into the three evil paths. These invisible bonds attract and tempt worldly beings, making it difficult for them to break free from the cycle of birth and death. It is very difficult for worldly beings to break free from these restraints and bindings of wealth like property money along with wives' children. Only when they no longer cling or attach themselves to such things in their hearts, extinguishing all greed, can they possibly be liberated from these restraints and bindings, ultimately breaking free forever from the bondage and restraint of samsara. At this point, the Buddha spoke a verse. Be it an iron chain or rope, or even a net made of reeds, the wise do not call it bondage. When bound by delusion in their mind, be it precious jewels or a wife, both are attachments of the heart. The wise call them strong fetters that bind one to this world. Even if they are loosened, they are hard to leave behind. For there is no desire to abandon pleasure and seek liberation. Therefore, break free from these bonds and renounce worldly life.